Welcome back to Talkin Shop with ShopSabre. I am your host, Brandon.
And I am his sidekick, Nick.
Nick, how you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Oh, not too bad. Trying to figure out the stupid board. I can't get it to work today. Stupid voice changers.
Well, just do it on your own.
I used to be able to sound like a minion. I could just, hi, my name's Brandon. I used to be able to sound like a minion. Now I can't sound like a minion. It's really upsetting. I've literally never used it, but now I'm mad that I can't use it. I don't think we've used it once, have we?
I didn't know it could even do that, so no.
So I got a feature on this thing that I used to be able to play with during the warm-up session that I played with. But then now that I can't use it during the show, I'm really upset about it. And that makes me not want to do this now.
Yeah, I mean, the one button that was working would have been great for your pre-show deal there where you're getting really upset.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Just, it should be working. All the other buttons work, including Ric Flair.
I feel like if we had the manual, we could figure it out.
See, Ric Flair works.
That's good.
Ric Flair works, but you can't get the rest of it to work. I don't know. I don't read the manual. I don't even know what the manual is.
143 episodes deep, and we don't know how this thing works.
Hey, you just found out it had a voice changer on it.
That's true.
Yeah, what'd you do last weekend? Anything fun besides sell tons of Girl Scout cookies? Because that's what you do now.
Yeah, I didn't really. What did we? Well, we had our visitors from the Netherlands over every day because they left yesterday, so we kind of just spent the weekend with them.
Oh
before
no,
they headed home.
somber day today.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but the kids and Natalie are fine because they're now going to go at the end of May.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks instead of just over spring break. So.
Oh, it's changed now.
Yeah, so now they're going to wait a couple months, but just them knowing that they're going to be going made it easier.
That's probably smart though to like space it out rather than going like in a couple weeks again because it's all so close together.
Right. And they're coming back next summer, they said.
Oh, are they?
So
look at that.
There's only be a year in between, but yeah. So I'm going to be.
My favorite was your explanation of why you're not going over there.
I can't take that much time off work at the end of a month.
No, your real explanation.
What was it? Oh, because I want to live the Chad Wilson life and be a bachelor for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you found out you could be at home for 9 days without anybody, and
it's going to be actually 16 now.
Wow.
Because they checked all the flight prices, and if you space it out,
you're not going to try to go with them at all?
No.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay. Whew, dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, right.
Don't know what I'd do for you without you in here for 16 days.
I'd come back after 16 days and I'd be replaced. I'd have a new guy trained and started already.
Hi, Nick. Meet our new guy here.
We'd like you to train him this week, and then you're on your own after that, and go find yourself something else to do.
That's funny. We wouldn't do that to you, Nick.
I appreciate that.
No, seriously, though. You're not going to go, though, huh? Not even for a little bit?
I don't think so.
What about 5 days?
What if I just surprised them and
that'd be cool.
hopped on a plane after a few days after
don't they listen to this?
Doubt it.
Stare into the black pen.
The kids for sure don't, and even if Natalie does, she'll forget by then and won't even remember. So
okay, fair enough.
Because
I was say don't give away the secret, but yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, leave them be there for 5 days, go for a few days.
I mean, that's a long flight though by yourself to just surprise them.
But
wouldn't
it be great to be by yourself for that long?
I was just gonna say,
no kids, no nothing.
If you space it out right, you leave after them and you fly back before them, so you never have to fly with the kids.
Right, and I still have 5 days alone on either side of it.
That's solid.
It's a perfect plan.
It's solid.
I like where your head's at.
I like where it's going.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Yeah, anyways, we had some awesome weather this weekend, though. It's like 70 degrees here in Minnesota.
Yeah, then it snowed on Monday.
It didn't snow.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is kind of off topic again. But
yeah, what happened?
So I saw a video on Facebook of the golf course that my dad is a member at in Hastings.
Yep.
And they were teeing off and the ground was covered with snow. So I messaged him. I'm like, is it snowing there? He's like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, your golf course just posted a video. They're teeing off in the snow. It's completely white. They have it like an inch of snow. He's like, no, they don't. I'm like, they do. The video's right there. Look at it. So he's retired. He has nothing better to do. What does he do? He hops in his truck and starts driving out there. He said he got a mile south of town and it was snowing like crazy and there was snow everywhere. And his road didn't even get wet.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So within and the golf course was as he said, 3.7 miles from his house, they had an inch of snow and he didn't even see any rain.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was saying because everybody was talking about how it was gonna snow on Monday, and I didn't see any. It didn't even rain.
Just all of a sudden, over that way.
But it was literally 70 degrees on Sunday, and I pressure washed my garage and did things that in March you don't do in Minnesota.
Right. Yeah.
And it was awesome.
But then it's we're like, oh god, it's so cold. It's 45 degrees. Well, it's March. That's what it's still.
I don't
warm.
think it's cold. I think it's lovely.
No, it's great.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's just weird that we haven't had how many days in a row have we had with snow on the ground, where the ground was actually white?
5.
And
maybe.
5 total days.
Yeah,
maybe it's
maybe.
just been it's been
crazy. But we're not here to talk about the weather.
We're not.
We're here to talk about follow up and follow through today. So I don't know. What brought me to this topic was just talking about the commitments you make. I was thinking about it, and it really can relate to anything in your life. I mean, whether it be a commitment to your marriage, commitment to business, commitment to sports, whatever you're thinking about. It's, when you commit to something, you kind of commit to that follow up or that follow through, right?
For sure.
And, what I mean by that is like when you say you're going to do something, like you do it. Like it's just kind of what has been, instilled in my work ethic, I guess, since the beginning. Obviously, the old JB is pretty big on that. If you're going to say you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
Yep.
Speaking of JB, you approached him this morning about coming on this podcast, and he did not say no.
He didn't say no, and he I really feel like he genuinely was interested in maybe doing it because he like.
But you know what he didn't do?
Didn't say no.
He didn't commit to it though,
but
so he
didn't
doesn't
say
have
no.
to follow through.
Well, I will be following up.
You follow up with him, right? Yeah. But no, that's my point though. Is like, as I don't know why I had to go there because we said JB and it made me think of that. Yep. But as something I can relate to is hockey, right? Obviously being a hockey coach and obviously having 2 boys in hockey, and I live at the hockey rink. I could probably sell my house and I'd not be homeless. I could just live at the rink. But that commitment you make to the team, right? My son, he's a goalie. It's one thing to sign up for hockey because it's cool, right? There's a lot of kids that do sign up for hockey, and they do it because like it's all the rave, right? Oh yeah, you gotta be in hockey. Like if you're not in hockey, you're not the cool kid. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like my kid signs up for hockey because he legit loves the sport and like wants to be there. And that doesn't mean just for the games, but he's there for every practice. Like we are today super pumped. Tonight's the districts for the first time. Like my kid's first district game ever, or district playoff game, excuse me, which it's just playoffs basically. But like you got to remember, this is his first year playing at this level. So we didn't have playoffs last year. So I'm kind of excited because it's like the first time I'm going to be able to coach my son's team like in the playoffs. And, for me, when I look at it, it's like my son's commitment all season long has been, if I have hockey, I'm going.
Yep.
Like we're at the end of the season now, and he hasn't missed a single practice. And I think that says a lot because, again, it's a commitment we made to the team, right? I mean, as a coach, I've made the commitment that I'm going to be there. And, obviously, like if as a coach, I just decided I wasn't going to show up.
Well, and then how can you expect the kids to fully commit to it if you're yourself as a coach not fully committed to being there all the time?
Right. And so, now you have to put in the work, though, is what I always try to remind people. Like committing to the team is one thing. Saying like, I'm going to play hockey, that's cool. But now you have to commit. You have to actually follow through and follow up, right? And that is, the same thing that can relate to your business. So like I look at it from a hockey standpoint, like it's hard to go out and be a competitor. Like I always have viewed hockey as like one of the hardest sports to really play. And I say that not because other sports aren't difficult. Don't get me wrong. I think every sport has its, its challenges. But the reason I say hockey is so challenging is because it literally takes 5 players working together to be able to be successful.
Yep.
Like if one player is out of sync, one player's not doing their job, like you will notice it immediately. A 5-on-4 is a very big disadvantage,
For sure.
And then, if you have 2 kids on the team that aren't, paying attention, aren't doing things, like now you're 5-on-3 potentially. And so like for me, when you don't show up to practice and you don't do stuff, it's hard for you to know what the rest of the team is doing because you haven't been there practicing with them.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like the same thing can be said about your business, right? It's one thing to say like you're a business owner. Like how many people are like, oh, I own my own business, because it's like cool for them to say that.
Yeah.
But they really don't like commit to it.
Yep.
Like they really aren't actively involved. They kind of let the business run its own thing. And there's a lot of businesses out there that are, we call them lifestyle businesses, right? They're okay with the lifestyle they're living, and they're not really interested in growing it. They're not interested in its long-term success. It's just their lifestyle right now.
It's just kind of there.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, like, again, JB being a perfect example, I've had the luxury of looking up to him all the time in business. But how many business owners do you think that would be as actively involved as he is after as much time as he's been doing this and the success he's had?
Probably not a lot when you can still maybe reap the benefits of it while sitting back and letting everybody else do the work, right?
And that's my point is like, it's a commitment he made.
Yep.
Like he wants to see it through. And it's like, it's the same commitment that I feel like all of our employees have made. Like
that's what I was going to say. Like, I feel like his commitment to it and to the brand and like to what we stand for is easy for everybody else to pick up on and join in with because they see him doing it. Like if you have the leadership doing it, why wouldn't everybody else want to do it?
Well, that's where I think that goes into is the follow through, right? As leadership goes, as you think about your business, if you set the example, right, and you're willing to do the work and you're willing to put the hours in or the time in or be involved, it sets the precedence for everybody else.
Absolutely.
Because I've always, like, my dad always used to joke with me, like, you don't leave before the boss leaves. Like, that's what my dad always used to tell me, you know? And it's like, but it's true. Like, at all my jobs that I ever had before this, I just lived by that. And, like, it got me further in my career because, like, you know, doing the work is not always easy, but it's the right thing to do.
Correct.
And I think there's a lot of people, like, as they think about their business, could really benefit from that because, like, again, if you're going to say that you're the best, as an example, right? You know, you're the best or you claim to be number one, right? How many times have we seen that where people claim to be the best or the number one product or this or that? But
all the time.
You have to put in the work to actually be that. Like, unfortunately, we live in a world where you can almost say whatever you want and
not have to back it up.
Right.
Or
like,
not have to, like, stand up for what you're saying your values are.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. Like, if you look online, there's some, even in our industry, the CNC industry, there's companies out there that claim to be the best in, you know, the industry or number one in the industry, but, like, there's nothing to prove that they're better than us.
Right.
And so, like, how do you make that claim? Like, if you notice in our ads, like, we never use the word number one in the industry. Like, because although we feel like we are and we feel like we do have a lot that can prove that, until I can physically prove that we are number one, which it's hard to say that there's any way to prove, like, there's no scoring system, right? It's all personal beliefs and opinions. So again, that goes back to, if you're going to claim to be number one, you better be able to back it up.
For sure. And I think it kind of goes back to things we've talked about in the past where people just see or read things and they instantly believe it without doing any research to go back and be like, are these people really going to live up to the hype that they're giving themselves?
Well, to me, if you claim to be number one and there's no, like, facts to back it up, it's kind of a shady way of doing business.
Right.
Like, it's misleading because you're literally, like you said, trying to play on that emotion more than you are the actual, like, who you are.
Yeah. You see, like, somebody sees that about your company and then they can hyper focus on the bad thing they heard about a competing brand or a competing company, whatever, and be like, oh, well, this person said that they didn't follow through with this or didn't give the, you know, what they wanted to in this. And you're saying that you will. So I'm going to just go with you because that one person that stood out on the negative side.
Well, the other thing that I think is kind of, you know, it's kind of related to marketing. Marketing is kind of a mess nowadays. Like, there's a lot of shady marketing out there, and, you know, companies make false claims, you know, about who they are, or the product they actually, you know, are, where it comes from. You know, that's another thing. Like, right now, you see how many companies they really want to benefit from that American flag, right? Because there's some pride in buying American products.
100%.
So a lot of companies will, like, mislead their consumer, their, you know, customers to believe that, like, oh yeah, we're American.
Yep.
But, like, they're really not an American-made product. Like,
but again, it goes back to they know that people aren't going to really do the research and check it out.
They won't follow through.
Right?
Yeah, they won't follow up. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is, like, as a consumer, you need to be willing to do your due diligence. Ask to see the factory. Ask to see where things are made. If somebody's claiming American-made or portraying to be American-made, it costs you $0 to ask that question.
Correct.
Zero. Like,
might cost you a few dollars to fly to their place and see where they claim they're making something in America, but is that worth? What price can you put on getting an actual American-made piece of equipment or product as opposed to something that's just going to be junk in a few months?
Well, that's the thing. What you're saying there, it doesn't even have to cost you. I mean, obviously, fly out there if you can, right?
Yep.
Actually tour it, see it with your eyes. But ask for pictures. Ask for videos. I want to see a machine being built. I want to see my product. You know, I want to see where you do it. Show me the factory. Like, companies that are really building it in America probably already have that stuff.
And they're going to have no
because they're proud of
showing
it.
To you.
Yeah, they're proud of it.
Right.
Like, trust me, the amount of money and time that we've invested in building this company, like, we're talking about a 100,000 square foot facility. You think I want to hide that?
Right. Heck no.
You know what kind of capital investment that is? Like, I would rather show that off.
Right.
Like, it's an investment we made in our company. I want to show off the employees. Like, I'm proud of the people that work here and the amount of talent we have. Why wouldn't I want to show that off?
I don't see why not.
So that's my point. Like, asking those questions costs you nothing, and it could save you a big headache later on.
Right. And if you pay attention while you're asking those questions, you can almost get an answer without them really giving an answer.
Correct.
Right? Like, the way they respond to your questions is going to be very telling on whether or not they're actually telling the truth or if they're trying to, like, weasel their way around it.
Yeah, or you could just go to our website,
ShopSabre.com.
and then you can just check out our tour.
Yes, for
Like,
sure.
we
I'm
have
glad
our-
that button worked, by the way.
Hey, see, that button works. That one works. I can't turn myself into a minion though. But yeah, like on our website, we have a tour and we have a section on our website that shows you that off. And again, it just kind of goes back to like follow through, right? If I'm going to claim to be American made and I'm going to talk about it, like I'm going to show you it. I'll follow up with it. I'll follow through and actually show you how we build machines. Now, I'm not going to teach you all the secret sauces. I'm not going to show somebody all the secrets to what goes into our engineering and how we build these machines and make them so great, because there's certain people that just are not privy to that information, right? We're not going to give that to our competitors.
But I can definitely share a picture with you of our guys
Right.
cutting the raw steel, or a guy
Right.
welding it together, or building the electrical boxes, whatever, all the components that go into it. We can definitely show you that they're being done right here at our facility.
Right. And you can come to our facility and walk through it. And like, again, that's something we're proud of. So like you said, ShopSabre building machines in the USA is something that people can actually come see. Like there's actually a tangible item there, right? And again, I think there's a lot of companies out there that try to benefit from that USA flag without actually putting in the work.
For sure.
And I think that's just something to start thinking about nowadays, because, the one thing that comes to mind is, think about it this way. This is the way I always put it in a perspective. Like I had a customer the other day, which, he maybe listens to this, I don't know. But he had mentioned that he was down to us and another machine. And the customer had mentioned that he was talking to, quote unquote, the owner over at that other company, right? And he's like, and he's promising me that if anything goes wrong, he's going to take care of me. The machine that owner was touting is imported from China, like straight up out of China.
Yep.
So I asked him, what does he actually own? If he's the owner, right?
Yeah.
What is he promising you? Because he doesn't own the product. He doesn't own the manufacturing. He doesn't own the labor. Like, he doesn't actually own what he's saying he's going to back up.
Because he knows he's not going to have to or be able to back it up when it comes down to it, right?
Well, the reality is he's just trying to make you comfortable in the moment, right?
And get that sale based on emotion
Right.
that he's promising.
And like the difference was that I said to him is like my family actually started the company. There's actually employees here that I can walk out to and talk to in the event that something goes wrong.
Yep.
Like we have an actual manufacturing plant that I can walk out and physically put my hand on the product being built. And if something doesn't go the way that you would expect it, or, heaven forbid something breaks down, I can walk out to a parts department in our building with raw goods.
Yep.
I could talk to the engineers. I could talk to the techs. Like, it's all in one roof. What is this person who's importing something from China really promising you? I'm promising that I'll make the phone call to China?
What was his answer?
Like, well, he didn't really give me an answer. It wasn't really looking for an answer. That was my question to him, is like, think about those things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need the answer, but I want you to think about it,
Yep.
But it comes down to, you can look at it even in your business. If you're listening to this and you're a cabinet maker, let's say, right? Are you really a custom cabinet maker if you're installing somebody else's product?
No.
Not
not really.
That's my question. I don't have the answer there, but I want you to classify that. Because if you're not building the product, if it's not really your product, aren't you kind of passing it off as the middle? Maybe it's your design,
Sure.
but somebody else is doing the work, right?
And then you're relying on that person to do the quality work that you're
Right.
expecting.
And
then you gotta
that's
put
my
your name
point.
on
The
it.
follow-up, the follow-through. Like, I can promise you how great my product's going to be because I designed it.
Yep.
But that's only part of the process. I can design anything. But if I don't build it, I'm only as good as whoever's doing the manufacturing, am I
Correct.
not?
And how do you know that person didn't cut corners to
Right.
make themselves more money because they bought cheaper product to manufacture the cabinets out of, or lower quality anything to put the things together?
Yeah, let me tell you a little story about that. So I was never really a big believer that like quality of material can really vary that much. I'm going to be honest. Like when I first got into this industry, my dad told me it all the time, but I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. But somebody finally showed it to me. They took a piece of steel that's made here in North America, and they took a piece of steel that was imported from overseas. They put them side by side. And I'm going to tell you right now, you could lay them side by side, and there wasn't a huge difference there. But then he started to cut on one, weld on one versus weld on the other one.
Sure.
And it was a very different result. Same guy, same welder, two different results. And the reason is the purity in the steel was much different.
Sure.
The quality of that steel was so much lower, and that's why it was so much cheaper from overseas, that it wasn't to the same standards. And it's like, so then you start to think about that, right? How many of these companies buy their frames from overseas? And they try to pass it, well, it's just the frame. We still assemble it here.
Sure.
But that's such a huge part of the. I mean, that's the
I
foundation.
was gonna say it's the whole. I mean, and you're only as good as your foundation, right? So
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. Is like you can put the greatest cabinets you want in a house, but if the foundation's cracked, like eventually that house is gonna have a problem.
Yep. Or you use cheap, crummy hinges to
Right.
put the doors on. The doors will be falling off.
Right,
within,
exactly. And that's my point. Is like, it's so easy to put an import product next to a American product and say they're the same, because from the outside they probably do look very similar, right? They're both routers, they're both plasmas.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Correct. And that was that's where I was going. Is I was gonna say, like, didn't we learn that as kids?
Yep.
Like, you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover. And
sure.
it's the same reason, like, why you do interviews, right? Otherwise, you just look at people's resumes, and whoever's resumes got the most stuff on it, like, hire that guy.
Right.
But you do interviews because you find out more behind the scenes, right? You want to make sure, can I work with that person? Are their skills really, are they really what they say they are? Do they really have the experience that they claimed on paper? The same can be said for a product you're buying or a business you're, working with. Is you want to interview them and understand who they are just as much as hopefully that business is doing the same thing to you.
Yeah.
Because again, it's one thing to be a desperate business, right? Take all the business you can because we need it.
Yep.
It's another business. It's a whole new level of success when you have the ability to be picky about your clients. And I'm not saying like you turn clients away, but sometimes there's certain clients you don't want, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we've all had that in business. And sometimes, being able to have that control because you're willing to build a better product and have a better level, for us, we provide lifetime support for as long as we own the machine. Like,
or even like if somebody isn't willing to wait a certain amount of time
That's
for you
my
to
point.
get their job done, like
Yep.
your lead times are worth it because you're busy or because of the quality you output, right?
Yep.
So if somebody's not willing to wait for that time and wants you to do it quicker, do it faster, is it really worth having them as a customer if you know that they're just going to push you to do it faster and maybe not as high quality?
Well, that's a good way to look at it too, as well as let's look at it slightly different than that. I have something that I like to refer to as integrity.
Sure.
Like if I sold you a job, right? And then somebody else comes along after and just starts yelling that they need their job sooner. Where's the integrity in me shoving them ahead of you because you made the decision sooner?
Right. And you're not being you're being the one that's being patient and letting
Right.
you work through the.
It's one thing
job.
to take a job on a rush build if it's not going to affect your other jobs.
Sure.
It's another thing if you're just going to leapfrog people because
They're gonna pay you some extra money.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't feel right. So
Yeah.
again, that goes back to the follow through. The follow through on my end is I made a commitment to you just like you did to me. You gave me your business.
Yep.
You told me I could build your cabinets. Well, then it's my commitment to you that I'm going to build your cabinets as I said I was going to.
Yep. And in this amount of time. and
Correct.
you get
Like
that.
I gave you a time frame, 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it is, and or maybe it's 6 to 8 months nowadays with the way how busy the construction industry is. But my point being is whatever that time frame is, I try to commit to it. Now, granted, things happen. People end up delayed. I have no problem with delays.
Yep.
Just communicate with me.
For sure.
Let me know there was a delay. Let me know something went wrong, right?
Don't just wait till the day it's supposed to be there to be done to be like, oh, just kidding. It's going to be another month because
Yeah.
I planned poorly or something happened or whatever.
What do
and
they
just,
say?
And just didn't communicate that to you.
Lack of planning doesn't constitute an emergency.
Correct.
Right? And sometimes that's something you have to think about is, do you get that from our overseas products? Do you get that from businesses that maybe don't follow up or follow through, right?
Right.
Because sometimes those things are out of their control.
Well, and if you're willing to cut corners doing that to get somebody your product, you're obviously going to be willing to cut corners and everything else, right?
Right. I mean, again, not getting totally into that, right? I don't want to totally get into America versus, import and all that. We've done that many times, obviously. But I really want to talk about the follow-up and the follow-through and like commitment. And when you make a commitment, what does that mean? And your commitment to your customer really starts with what you're doing in the shop when nobody's looking, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to, like I said, it's easy to say you signed up for hockey. That's the sexy thing, right? Oh, yeah, we're a hockey player. That's awesome. What are you doing when nobody else is looking now?
Right.
Are you going to hockey practice?
Are you going to 100% of them or are you going to 75% of them?
Right. Are you committed?
And are you giving your all when you're playing with your teammates like they are?
Right. And that, I mean, again, that we're referring to hockey, but I want you to think about all those questions in your business now. It's cool to say you're a business owner, but are you going to the shop and actually making things happen?
Right.
Are you putting the effort in to build the best product you can? Or are you paying somebody else to do the work?
All legitimate questions.
Right. And, obviously, don't get me wrong. There's sometimes in business you just have to pay somebody else to do something that's far more practical. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about when you have a choice.
Right.
Right? Like, you have a choice to buy a piece of equipment for your shop, like a ShopSabre machine, right? Like a router, a plasma. But instead, you're buying these parts and just marking everything up to your customer.
Pretty unfair.
Well,
I mean,
it's the easy way, right?
Sure,
I mean, you're in business. I'm not going to ever say it's unfair because you're taking a risk as a business owner. Like, I always say that, like, you have the right to make money.
But if you do that eventually, it's going to kind of catch up.
But I feel like you're being unfair to yourself more than anything.
Sure.
Because you're allowing another business to control your quality, your time frames, your success. And like that's where my frustration comes at, is you have the option to do more. Control it yourself. Take control of that so you don't have to worry about the lead times of somebody else or somebody else's failures or, heck, their employee gets sick, right? Mm-hmm. Their employee's sick, isn't there to run the machine. Now your customer's waiting on that, right?
Right.
Versus you being able to jump in the shop and maybe run your own machine.
Correct. Or your machine definitely is going to call out sick. So he's always going to be there to do the work, right?
That's a thing to think about there is the machines themselves. We're talking, we have a new thing we're going to be referring to, or coming up here that we're working on called Employee of the Month, right? And not like Employee of the Month is new, for the record. Let me set this straight. I'm not saying like we invented Employee of the Month. But we're talking about machines and like referring to them as an Employee of the Month.
Correct.
And it's the truth because I know there's some guy out there right now yelling at us right now. He's just super angry because we just referred to a piece of equipment better than him and all of his hard work. Right. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like it's really dependable. And like what you look for in an Employee of the Month is somebody that you can count on all the time and somebody that does the work. And that's what I'm referring to. And that's where the machine can be an Employee of the Month. Now, I'm not saying that, Robert running the machine isn't the Employee of the Month. Like, good for Robert. Thanks for showing up, dude.
Yep.
But I was just saying the machine is like consistent. It's something you can count on day in and day out. It doesn't matter if a snowstorm hits. It doesn't matter what's going on in the weather. It doesn't matter what happened at home. Yep. Like, the machine doesn't care. The machine turns on when you tell it to turn on and goes to work.
Correct.
And that's what makes it kind of like that Employee of the Month, right? Dependable. That when everything else is going to hell, right? You know that you can turn on the machine and keep working.
Correct. Always has a positive attitude.
Right.
Always is outputting quality.
Which is last few weeks we've talked about attitude and effort, right?
Right.
Well, the machine's attitude and effort is always there.
Well, let's be honest. I know it's kind of down a different path, but the cost of that Employee of the Month too, right?
Right.
Like having a machine, yeah, it's a big investment at the start if you want to look at it that way. But in the long run, it's going to cost you way less per day or per hour to run that machine.
That's what I was just going to ask. Is like, okay, hold on a second. Let's back up. Does it cost you more up front?
Well, the initial investment, maybe yes, but at the end of the day, it's going to go way down.
The amount of money, yes.
Correct.
But as a business owner, you're not looking at the dollars right now. I mean, any business owner should be looking at ROI, right? Yep. So if we're looking at our ROI, is the investment really more? No, it's the same investment. Because when I hired you, Nick,
yep,
I made a commitment to your salary.
Yep.
I didn't make a commitment to today. Like, I committed to paying you X amount of money.
Yep.
And I've also now committed to benefits, which, depending on the business, some are more, some are less, but you got benefits on top of your pay. And then I committed to, no offense, Nick, but all the bullshit that comes along with it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
for sure.
I don't know if you're going to call in sick tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know if something's going to happen in your personal life, but I've committed to like, hey, I'm offering you this job, right?
Yep.
So as an employee or employer, if you're not considering the commitment you're making to your employee as the same as the commitment you're making to the machine, are you really evaluating it correctly?
Incorrectly, probably.
Yeah, because like the same with the machine. Like when I commit to the purchase, it's the same as all those things wrapped up in one. So it's really not any different.
Right.
The only difference is the machine is going to do the work that you're expecting it to do because it's built to do that.
Yep. And you're going to get your, like you said, your return on investment on it because it's going to be there every single day.
Right.
All day running to its full capacity.
Right.
And making you that money.
So like hopefully people are hearing that and actually like realizing like you have to look at machines like it's not what it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago it was a bigger risk.
Oh yeah.
Like, man, I don't know if this machine's going to work out for us. Like it's so like nowadays, I mean, it's like trying to say the internet's a fad. It ain't going anywhere. Like the CNC machines aren't going away.
No.
Like AI, the power of AI right now is ridiculous. As much as people hate it, like there's so many people that hate it. They're so angry about it. But it's like it's really the future. It's the follow through, right? Everybody made a commitment to like technology and moving forward and like.
But it's probably the same people too that like didn't want to go away from handcrafting certain things or
Right.
cutting things with a saw. I mean, it's the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Kind of stuck in old ways. Maybe not old ways, but like they're stuck in their habits and the way they've always done things.
Did I talk about the Alexas in the house previously?
I feel like we did at some
Did
point.
we?
I think so.
Because I was gonna say like that's how again it goes back to that like when our parents were just again for anybody who's heard this, sorry, we're gonna say it again, but if you haven't heard it, it's like having Alexa in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have Alexa in my house. My kids love it. They play music all the time at the house. Like they do stuff with it all the time. They can send us text messages from the house.
Our kids do the same thing.
Yeah, like it's great. But everybody's like, oh my God, they're listening. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, I got a cell phone in my pocket. They're probably listening to that too if they want. Like, trust me, if they want to hear me talk about Cheerios and Fruit Loops with my kids, like, man, they better find something else to do.
I got nothing to hide.
Yeah, like I'm not worried about it.
Cares?
It's a convenience for me.
Yeah.
But like you think about that, like it's the same thing as years ago when you were like, I'm not gonna let them wiretap me. And now you're like, wiretap. What's the weather gonna be like on Tuesday?
Right.
Like,
Yep.
it's just what it is. And I don't know. For me, CNC machines are the same thing. Like it reminds me of like the old movie like Terminator.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like
Yeah,
the robots and like, oh my
Yep.
God, it's gonna take over. And now it's like it's just part of life. Like
That's what it is, right?
we're using it to our advantage, right?
It's just evolving into the next thing.
Tesla, drive me down the street so I don't crash. Like, like now our cars drive themselves.
Who would ever thought that? Like I joke with my kids once in a while, like old cartoons will be on TV and we'll
Yep.
watch the Jetsons.
The Jets, I was
and I'm
just
like,
gonna say
dude,
that.
these guys had it figured out back in the 80s or 90s when this cartoon was on. Like,
Right.
video phone calls, flying cars, like
Yep.
two elevators going up to their house from who knows where. Like,
Right.
they had everything. They knew what was going to happen 20 years down
You
the
know
road.
what's funny is they were just like they were doing it to be like futuristic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how cool would that be? Now it's like we literally have those things.
And somebody out there was like, "Oh, this is genius.
Yeah.
Let's figure this
Like
out. How
Zoom.
to do this."
Like
Yeah.
Zoom is the
Yeah,
video calls they
right.
were doing. Like we do those all the time. And it's not weird to us.
No.
Like my kids video call their friends every day.
all the time.
Every day. I'm so angry about it. My phone rings, my kid's iPad rings like 27,000 times a day. And it's all of his friends calling him. But I'm so angry about it. I'm not angry because they're calling. I'm angry because they don't ever have to experience the terror that we experience. Like when you had to call your friend's house and oh my God, their dad's gonna pick up. Oh my God.
Right.
Like, they don't even care.
A busy signal. What?
Yeah, right? Like
Oh wait, hold on a second. I got another call coming in the other line.
remember when
Gotta
you
click over?
Remember when you had to ask a girl for her number?
Yeah.
And then you had to worry that her dad was gonna answer the phone?
Right. And you wrote it down on the inside of your hand, hoping it wouldn't wash away and that nobody
Yeah.
would see it. Yeah.
Oh my God. And you think about that and I'm like, just the amount that technology has changed nowadays, like it's really screwed up the
And for a while, you could get away with if her dad answered, you could hang up and they wouldn't know who it was. then call her and he came along. And they're like, oh, we know.
or
who's
if you
calling.
had siblings, you could pick up the phone and listen to their conversation.
Yeah, from the other room.
You just had to do
Yeah.
it really, really slowly so they didn't hear the phone click.
And then if they did hear you, they'd say your name and you just had to be quiet.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, maybe they didn't pick up.
Yeah, it's so funny. Dude. Oh my God. Like
And just to think that was only 30 years ago. Oh, I guess 30 years, that's a long time.
it's a long time though.
Golly. But I mean, think about how much it's changed though. It doesn't
Right.
seem like it's been that long.
But
And
that's
it's
my
almost
point. Like
crazy.
following through, right? We followed through on a commitment to technology.
Yep.
Like even like looking at the first machine my dad ever built. When old JB was in the garage building the first machine, like we'd make fun of that machine nowadays.
We're going to hear that story in a couple weeks, by the way.
Hopefully we can get him on here and he can talk about that. But you think about like the technology change and the follow up and the follow through that he had into it.
For sure.
His commitment to the product and the industry and like what he's done to try to accelerate it.
Well, and think about that too. Like that was 25 years ago?
Yeah.
The technology for communication wasn't like it is now.
Right.
Like you couldn't just hop on your computer and shoot somebody an email and send them some information or send
Well,
them an
you
email.
could.
Well, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean,
it
it's
wasn't,
email's not that old,
but
or not that new.
the ease of it wasn't as
Yeah.
easy, right?
Right. But I mean, computers didn't do what they do nowadays.
I suppose 25 years ago was only 2000.
Right. Exactly. I was just gonna say like
I'm acting like it was pre-internet.
Yeah. Y2K was 25 years
Right.
ago almost. But really, like I actually was talking about that with somebody the other day. Like the amount of storage I have on my cell phone nowadays is more than the first machines we built had on their computers.
That's crazy.
Like I carry more power in my pocket than the machine computer that ran the first CNC machine we built.
That's nuts.
Right?
Wow.
So think about that commitment, like the
Yeah.
commitment to advance this in the programming and the everything where it's come. Like how much harder it was to run a machine 25 years ago
Yep.
to what I mean. Kids are running them in high schools now all over the place, like
Good.
shop classes
That's awesome. Actually learning skills for the future, right?
out. Right.
That's great.
I mean, they still can't do their taxes, but they can run a CNC machine.
Good thing they have websites that do it for you.
Right. TurboTax.
Right.
But no, it's it's like I said, that's the stuff that I wanted to talk about, is because as you make a commitment, to your business, and you're starting to think about, the way that I was looking at it is built, not bought, right?
Yep.
You're building a company, right? You're not buying a company, you're building it, right? And there's people out there that buy companies and make a lot of money, and good for them. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing that. But I'm talking to the people who are, this segment is really for the people who are building a business. You have to be willing to commit to your business then.
And putting all that time and effort into it, and then having the pride in it when it grows into what you have, the dreams of it being.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I as you guys all know, I race cars, and my car that I race, I bought it from a reputable manufacturer. And some of the guys at the track will give you crap, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you bought your car, not built it." But I always joke around with them. And I say, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm too busy building America." Because we build equipment here, and I don't have time. We're so busy here.
Yep.
I don't have time to go build a race car from scratch.
Sure.
Nor do I have the skills to build a race car from scratch to the level that these guys have been doing it for 20 to 30 years.
But at the same time, you still put a ton of effort into building whatever,
Correct.
The engine, or working on the engine, working on the car, and making it
I
better,
build
right?
the maintenance program. I build the program behind it.
Yep.
It's no different than buying a CNC machine to install in your business so you can build the product,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
It's a tool. The race car to me is a tool to achieve the results.
Correct.
And so that's kind of when you say built, not bought. There's things that you buy that are allowing you to build your success.
Absolutely.
Just because you bought the tool doesn't mean you didn't build your success. It's one thing when, you inherit a business and millions of dollars, and did you really build it? No, you didn't build that empire. You inherited it. That doesn't make it a bad thing. Good for your family. I wish I had inherited an empire and I don't have to be sitting here doing this. But, it is what it is. So, no. But in all seriousness, I love what I do. I love coming to work every day doing this. I couldn't imagine not doing what I'm doing. And that's that sense of pride and that commitment I've made.
Sure.
That's what I want people to hear and feel, is that find something in your business that you can commit to, and then really just hammer that home. Right.
And I think your pride into this business falls onto the other employees around you that take the same pride, right?
Hopefully.
Because, you express that pride and, have that outward joy about the business and building the machines and providing quality to our customers and service to our customers.
Right.
And everybody has to buy into that, right? That's what makes it successful.
Right.
Because if you don't have that coming from the top, how do you expect people down,
right,
at the lower level? I don't want to say the bottom, but you know what I mean?
Throughout the company.
The upper levels have to embrace it just as much as anybody, right?
It's no different than a hockey team. Right. If the coach doesn't believe in the team,
right,
is the team really going to go anywhere? Probably not.
No, might get lucky once in a while.
Yeah, you might win some games on talent.
Yep.
But the problem is, if the culture, the leadership isn't there, the players aren't going to want to play.
Right.
They're not going to believe in themselves. So it's you have to be. Everybody loses. Let's start there. Every single person loses at some point in their life.
Yep.
But you don't ever truly lose if you just keep going.
Right. And learn from those losses.
Well, yeah, because I've always said, you have to look at it from an engineering standpoint or a product development standpoint. Did you lose if the product evolved?
Not really, no.
Because you call that a rev. What do they call it? A revision, right? That was the word I'm looking for. Revision.
Yeah.
So really, your failure is just revision 1.
Yep.
Right? Okay. Yep. We lost. It didn't work. Revision 2 now. Right? You move on. You learn from it. The only time that you really failed is when you crumple that all up, throw it in the garbage, and then never use it again.
And then just give up on it, right?
Okay, now I lost. I lost all that time and energy. Otherwise, it's just a revision. It's time for revision 2, 3, whatever you're doing in your business right now to get to the next level. Make the next revision.
Yep.
You're not going to hit a home run on every single swing. Ask any baseball player if they hit a home run every time they swing. No.
Yep.
There has to be a strike. Sometimes you take a strike, right? Sometimes you're out. But the next time you get up, if you keep going, you don't really ever lose. It's just the opportunity. It's not like a game where there's 60 minutes, the minutes are up, and the game's over.
Correct.
This is your business. The next year is going to be here before you know. We're 2024. It's going to be 2025 before you realize it if you don't start doing stuff now.
Absolutely.
And the reality is every year you have the opportunity to do something different than you did the year before. And that is your commitment, your follow through, your follow up. So follow up on what you were doing last year, right? Keep building on what was working. But follow through is finding a way to push forward and get past some of the hurdles maybe that you had last year. Maybe your hurdle was lead time with your vendors. Maybe it was cost. Find something, make a commitment to yourself to improve that stuff.
And learn from it.
Learn.
I think that's the biggest thing I take away from it is learn how to embrace your, not necessarily failures, but things, like you said, things that you lose at. Embrace those and know that you can learn from them and become better from those.
Well, that's exactly it. You have to find a way to be better. Like you have to find a way to do something. Like I don't remember what the actual phrase or who said it, but it was insanity is what? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So if I do the same thing this year as I did last year, but I expect to grow, how am I going to grow?
You're not.
Like you might get lucky. You're 100% positive. Like you might get lucky, but it's that story we told a couple weeks ago about Yeti.
Yeah.
And how they grew so much. And they did something different. Yeti's been around for a while, but they sold to construction workers. And eventually they said, wait a second, there's a bigger market out here for us. And in 1 year they did $70 million or something?
Yeah, it was like 10 times the growth.
10 times the growth in 1 year.
Stanley, by the way.
Oh, that's who it was. Stanley, not Yeti.
Because they marketed to the women with different colors.
Yeah, because they started marketing it with the cups and all that stuff. So, yeah, but the point is like, they're not building anything different than they were before.
Nope. Just putting a different outside on it.
But they started, they found a way to be different.
Yep.
And that's sometimes what you have to do in your business. You have to think about what you've done this last year and build on it. We're not saying reinvent your entire company.
But don't be afraid to do something different or do something new that might make you uncomfortable.
Don't be afraid to push your comfort level.
For sure.
Right. Become comfortable in uncomfortable situations and you'll grow.
Yep.
Every single time. Because as soon as somebody thinks they're always right or what they're doing is going to be the only way to do it, is when you find out really, really fast that you're probably going to get left behind.
Absolutely.
That's what I got today.
I do have one thing to say.
Okay.
All I could think of when you said you have your first district hockey game tonight.
Yeah.
All I could see was Gordon Bombay and Mighty Ducks talking about their district playoffs. That's all I saw the whole time.
Gordon Bombay. I'm going to show up my limo tonight.
That'd be funny. Drive out on the rink and just
drive
spin it around like
just show up in the parking lot with a limo and an old Gordon Bombay jacket.
Be sweet.
That'd be sweet. I wish I had a Gordon Bombay.
Hop out of the limo with your new hockey stick.
It can't be a nice limo. It has to be like an old school limo like he had.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I should have done that. I'm gonna do that at the first practice next year.
And get like some crazy fancy horn put in it so you can like blow the horn while you're pulling the parking
lot. I'm gonna show up to hockey practice, the first practice next year in a Gordon Bombay.
What's your wife gonna say next week when she comes home when there's a limo in the driveway? You think it's bad when there's car tires and a hockey stick on the step? Now there's a limo.
I did tell Nick that earlier today. I said we were getting ready for this, and my Ring doorbell thing went off. And I pulled my phone up, and I have race car tires sitting on the front step and a hockey stick. I said, oh, no. I said, my wife's going to kill me. She's going to come home, and the front step's full of race car stuff. Not good. Oh, well.
It happens.
Hopefully she'll
better to ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, as they say, right? Yeah, ask for forgiveness. Yeah, buy a CNC machine. Ask for forgiveness later.
But you won't need to because you'll see all the dollar bills rolling in the bank account.
Yeah, you buy it, and they see the dollar bills, and then they're happy.
Yeah.
No, that's the truth. Like I said, it's just hopefully today's episode kind of fun, but hopefully makes you think a little bit about your follow-up and your commitments and kind of where you're going this year. We're making some changes here. We're pretty excited about it. We've got some new things we've been updating. Got some website stuff that's just getting ready to revamp a little bit. We just made a few changes and updates to our website. So if you haven't been out there, go check it all out. We have some new stuff coming to social media. Actually, we just hired a new person for our sales department as well, Philip. So Philip is now on board because Hunter has left us. He's moved on. He's moved back to Georgia. So yeah, like I said, you'll start to meet Philip, and we actually hired somebody from marketing as well. So we now have Rodney. He's actually been in here listening to us this whole time. So
he's got great hair.
He does have really great hair. Not going to lie to you.
Compared to a lot of us up here.
I have zero, so I'm envious of his hair. But yeah, no, like I said, hopefully you guys will be meeting Rodney here in the future episodes, and maybe we'll just do an introductory episode with him down the road.
He doesn't get to say no. He'll have to be on.
He doesn't get to be like JB where he gets to give us an exit.
Right.
No, that's like I said, so we're excited. We got a lot of cool things coming, and obviously with that, hopefully for our 2024, we'll be able to do some new stuff, things that we haven't done in the past, and just to continue to kind of push the envelope with CNC. We want to bring you guys products that you want. We're listening. Obviously, we appreciate all the feedback, and as always, we want to hear what you guys want to talk about. If there's specific topics, whether it's business, industry related, CNC, whatever, let us know. With that, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Nick.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.